So Lola Odelola she's got a technical background. She's got a creative writing background. She's currently an invited expert to the technical architecture group, the W3C. She's working on standards, people. Yes. Yeah, unsung heroes who grind through working on standards. Thank you for your service. It's amazing stuff. And we're going to hear a little bit about, well, alt tags and other ways that images can be perceived, consumed, and used on the web. We often overlook how we cater for screen readers and assistive technologies, and the alt tag is radically underused, drastically underused, and not used appropriately. Maybe there are creative ways we can use it as well. I won't try and give Lola's talk because that would be bad for all of us, and Lola's prepared to talk. So let's start as we mean to go on, please, with a huge round of applause. Please make her very welcome. It's Lola Odelola.
Thank you. Thanks for that, Phil. I actually think you probably gave a better introduction to my own talk than I did. But when I was asked to do this talk, I was kind of in the process of leaving my last job. And the plan was to go deeper into my art practice. And so I spent the better half of last year just trying to make and explore art. And so that's where this talk is kind of born from. This is the first talk I've given that kind of melds my art practice with my tech background, and et cetera, et cetera. And last week, Josh sent an email out to be like, how's everyone doing? You know, next week is a talk and all of this stuff. And I had been sick, so I hadn't had an opportunity to like work on my talk as much as I wanted to. And so in the email, he says, you know, if you need some extra time on the day to, you know, fine tune things, don't worry about it. Just come in the break before your talk. I was like, oh, that's perfect. I have time on the day to fine tune things. And then I saw the schedule. So that was not extended to me, which is fine. I'm happy with my talk and I hope you will enjoy it too. So I started my professional career as an artist, mainly a writer. This is my poetry collection, which you can get on Waterstones for a £5. I have made absolutely £0 and 0 pence from this collection. I've also acted in theatre shows, and art allows me to be inquisitive and exploratory. It allows me to ask questions that seem simple on the surface, but often lead me down interesting, winding paths. I also have ADHD, which makes me a chronic overthinker and daydreamer. One of my hobbies is to just sit and think and dream. So when I picked up my camera last year with the aim to make a project about how AI often misinterprets what it sees because it can't see, and to be fair, this was at the time, you know, the advancements in AI is just crazy when you think about it. But yeah, the project was about how AI often misinterprets what it sees because it can't see. It's no surprise that I ended up here with this question. What is an image? I'm going to play a video next, and it's a bunch of artists trying to answer this question.
I think really we're talking about different languages. So we're talking about the language of sculpture and the language of painting and how it manifests the image. It's not detached from the image. They're both images.
So they're saying that the language of sculpture and the language of painting are just different languages that manifest an image, right? They're not different things necessarily. And they are talking about abstract painter Jack Whitten. He was an American abstract painter, and this is one of his works, Homage to Malcolm. And this is another of his works, Assa's Place. And I really want us to hold on to this idea of using different languages to manifest the image. In life, since secondary school, Wikipedia is the place to go to find out things, to understand things, to know things, just about general knowledge stuff. I'm always in a Wikipedia rabbit hole. The other day, right before bed, my partner was reading about the Ethiopian Civil War, just for fun on Wikipedia. And I was just like, that's really odd to do right before bed. But I went to Wikipedia to understand what they say is the definition of an image. And so we see here that the image is a visual representation. An image can be two-dimensional, such as a drawing or painting or photograph, or three-dimensional, such as a carving or sculpture, right? What we really think about when we say image is, I think, more expansive than many of us think. But I really want to hone in on this idea of visual representation. Visual implies that this is something you can see using your eyes, but many people don't see with just their eyes, as we know. Blind people, daydreamers, readers, artists, they use more than just their eyes to see and create visual representations. And so now I'm going to do an exercise. And by the way, I forgot to say this at the beginning, there will be two 3-minute exercises I'm going to give you. So be prepared for that. I know it's early, but just, be prepared. But this time I'm going to ask you to close your eyes, and I'm going to read an extract from Toni Morrison's Sula. And I'll tell you when to open your eyes again. There, in the center of that silence, was not eternity, but the death of time and a loneliness so profound, the word itself had no meaning. She wept then, tears for the death of the littlest things, the castaway shoes of children, broken stems of marsh grass battered and drowned by the sea, prom photographs of dead women she never knew, wedding rings in pawn shop windows, the tiny bodies of Cornish hens in a nest of rice. You can open your eyes now. Some of you may have seen the images in your mind's eye as I read. Some of you may have felt intuitively that the images were what the images were, even if you didn't see them. And some of you may have seen and felt nothing. The act of image making is something we all can do, and do in many ways. For example, Iogen Baucha is a blind photographer who creates the images, the photos of the images that he wants in his imagination first. The photo is born in the imagination before it's imprinted on film or screen. And this is some of his work. In this talk, I want to explore other ways of seeing the web, using alt text as an artistic medium. I'm Lola Odelola. I'm a multidisciplinary artist and an independent web standards technologist. I run Lola's Labs, which is where I do my web standards work. I'm also a W3C technical architecture group member, and thank you, and and the host of What the Spec, which is a podcast unpacking browsers and specs with the people who create them. As part of my work as a standards technologist, I have a specific focus on accessibility. Last year, I led the adoption of the AT driver specification in the W3C browser tools and testing working group. An AT driver is a protocol to allow remote access to screen readers for testing purposes. I'm also kind of working on the accessibility compat data. Does anyone know the browser compat data? Yes. One person does, great. So when you go on MDN, there's a small, well, not always small, but there's a table at the bottom of most web pages that tells you the browsers the features are available in. I want to build something like that, but for screen readers as well. So that's what the accessibility compat data hopefully will eventually be. We're still in early days. And finally, as part of my contributions to the technical architecture group, I review design proposals for accessibility and other issues, and I'm the co-editor of the Social Impact Questionnaire, a document that encourages spec authors to think about the consequences of the specs they create. Now, I gave all of that background to just basically kind of say that, like, I care about accessibility stuff, in a nutshell. Thank you. Just before we get into the, like, real meat of things, I do want to go over what this talk is not. I am not going to tell you how to write alt text. I will definitely not be going through the WCAG requirements for alt text. I don't think any of us want to do that first thing in the morning. We also won't be centering the photo or illustration or icon on the web page. This talk is an experiment in imagination. I want us to explore together, and hopefully you too will have questions or ideas about imagery and image making on the web. Now, just as Wikipedia is the place to go for random general knowledge stuff, MDN is the place to go for web stuff. I think we can all agree. And so according to MDN, alt text is what's provided to the image tag alt attribute. And so it's a textual representation for the image, which is mandatory for accessibility so that screen readers can read the alt attribute to let users know what the image means. But I really want to hone in there on the meaning, right? It's about providing meaning. Alt text's primary function is to provide meaning, not necessarily translate what the photograph or illustration or icon is, which makes it such a great medium for art, because so much of art is about exploring and creating meaning. We can treat alt text as a parallel to a picture or video, something that exists on its own. When movies are adapted, that doesn't take away from the IP they're adapted from, be it comics, books, or a play. They're treated as related but individual. Geraldo Ningena was a Mexican photographer who became blind in his 20s. His work combined the photograph with Braille as a way for both sighted and blind people to experience photography together. I think we can see alt text in a similar way. It can stand on its own as a form in and of itself, and we can start to think, how can we use alt text to manifest the image like the artist in the beginning were talking about? How can we use alt text to provide meaning to the image in creative and interesting ways? I'm going to show you 3 images that I photographed last winter, and we can explore the different ways of describing and what's useful when. This is a tree with yellowing leaves. It's the biggest tree amongst smaller trees which still have their green leaves. A very close-up shot of a small branch. It has 2 prongs and small moss-like patches growing along its bark. A close-up of electric green moss grows on the side of a tree trunk. This is the kind of alt text that's useful, especially when used for technical diagrams, graphs and charts, or when the image has text. In these cases, the meaning of the image is just what the image literally is. Descriptive text does well in literal contexts, but less so in abstract contexts. For example, let's go back to this piece by Jack Whitten, Homage to Malcolm. It's literally 3 black triangles inside of each other. There are some hues of white and red, but it's mostly black with the triangles differentiated by texture. But is that what the image is? Does that convey the meaning of the image? Similarly, here's Assa's Place again. To me, it looks like mostly pink paint, which has been scraped away in some parts to real splotches of greens and yellows and blacks. Is that what the image is though? Does that convey the meaning of the image? Let's go back to our original set of 3. This time, we're going to try a different way of describing. A tree with yellowing leaves, heavy like fruit, too ripe for its branches, stands tall amongst smaller, younger trees who have not yet felt the cold of winter. A branch is alone, kept company only by the moss cycling through life and death along its bark. The moss is alive. Electric green pulses through this patch, screaming, shouting. This kind of alt text uses simile and metaphor to speak more to the meaning of the text while still remaining descriptive. This could work well with images that accompany poetry or other art. Now we're going to go one more time, and this time I will just do this one. I won't do the other 2 images. What is it about a tree on the brink of regeneration that makes it look so pretty in the light? The leaves sparkle golden in the sun, while the trees around her glow green with envy. Ekphrastic poetry is poetry that's done in relation to a visual thing. And Wikipedia says it started in ancient Greece, but I kind of feel like it's so basic, people before that must have been doing it. And it's written in response to something visual, such as a photograph, painting, or sculpture, but the poem exists as an art piece by itself. It's in collaboration with the piece, but it's its own thing. And so this is one of the times that I said you are going to be doing something. And while this is a useful exercise to do, I did find that my talk wasn't long enough, which is part of the reason you're going to be doing this exercise. So it's your turn. I'd like you to write 1 or 2 sentences about this image using simile or metaphor. You can do this by yourself, or you can do this with somebody sitting next to you. And I'm going to time it. Just take 3 minutes, not too long. Go. Oh, no, you're good. It's not only a moss on a tree. Okay, it kind of seems like folks are done. Cool. Based on some of the conversations I overheard, I can tell it was difficult to write in this way. But it's useful. It's not just about getting our imaginations working, but it also makes art accessible. In these examples, though, the picture is still the focus in some way. So how can we deprioritize the picture while keeping the image? There's this really cool website called alttexselfies.net. And their whole thing is making selfies that decenter the image and center the descriptive text. The aim of the project is to create pleasurable and engaging internet experiences for disabled people. So next we'll hear a couple of these descriptions. Here is Yemisi.
A black femme stands beside a brick wall, avoiding the rain. Black, chunky headphones blasting drum and bass sit on top of their short, hot pink curls. They wear a black hoodie tucked away under a snakeskin olive green raincoat.
Okay, and here is Jennifer.
Bedroom, a 31-year-old Jennifer takes a mirror selfie with her first cane. Like the rest of her outfit, it is black and designed for comfort. She sends the snap to several friends, the smile lingering on her face as she realizes this is one of kindness's many precipices she has previously avoided. Leaping off it is freeing. The subtle power of this announcement by way of a visual cue cannot be underestimated. Signs and signifiers make the invisible visible. A painting of Stevie Nicks is in the background, eyes bright and holding the night bird. Jennifer's been listening to her a lot lately, especially Sable on Blonde. She knows what it means to learn to be a stranger, like her body before pain became.
So both Yemisi and Jennifer there created selfies of themselves using only text. And I think that's quite powerful, especially for disabled people, as an alternative way to show themselves and to present themselves on the web. By the way, there's a whole list of these similar kinds of artworks on altselfies. Wait, what was it? alttexselfies.net. So you can go and have a look at the rest of them yourselves as well if you'd like to. But it's time for our second exercise. Imagine yourself in this moment and either alone or with a neighbor, write 2 sentences of an image of yourself in this moment. I think this should be easier than the other one because you're talking about you. Or maybe not. Maybe you're too complicated. Okay. Feel free to share some of those with me in the break or at lunch or at the social. I'm going to go through two that I did. They're not selfies, but they are images that I've made. Whoops. This is my younger brother, Shubumi. His locks are barrel rolled in an all-back style, swinging behind him. It's our first time in Nigeria together, in our grandparents' garden. He looks directly into the camera lens. His eyes don't glisten, but they're wide and awake. He's confident. He's comfortable. We're home together, and a smile is creeping on the edges of his mouth. Static. I'm watching you. In this noise, in this color, lines cut through me because I exist outside of boxes. But I can see you, preening, inspecting, investigating. What are you looking at? Can we go even further? What if images were hidden by default on the web page, but alt text was shown by default? How would that change how we write alt text? How would that change how we describe images? What if the image description or alt text is written before the image is created? And I don't mean in the like AI prompting kind of way, but how does finalizing and pinning down the description affect the image that's eventually made? What if we had a prefers alt text media query? I know a lot of the designers and front-end developers would probably hate that. But what if we allowed web users to prevent images from loading at all? How would that change the way we create the image? How would that change the way we describe visual elements? What if the description itself is the art? Thank you. I have been Lola Odelola. You can find me at lolaslab.co. You can listen to my podcast, What the Spec, and I am on Blue Sky and Mastodon, both the social versions, at my name, basically. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lola. What a way to get us started. Superb stuff. I love talks like this that make me think about things I thought I understood in different ways. The idea of alt text first kind of design that's a thought that's going to fester. I really like that. Thank you so much. Okay,